In this video, I'm going to tell you the top 5 KPIs you should focus on when you're starting out as a beginner and helping with digital advertising and helping with analytics related to digital advertising. I'm doing this video because one of my coaching students asked me to. I'm offering free coaching to my email newsletter subscribers to help them get their first job in digital marketing and then to eventually become a digital marketing data analyst. And I actually helped one of my students, June, get a job. And he reached out kind of a bit stressed, overwhelmed because he was in charge of all these analytics. And there's so many numbers, it's overwhelming. He doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't have the experience to know, okay, what should you focus on? And so when he doesn't have that knowledge base or mentor in his company, and he's just been hired, he wants to obviously perform well. So I came in and gave him some real talk based off real experience, having been in this industry for over 8 years. So without further ado, I actually compiled a short slide deck presentation. So I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen, and then we're going to go ahead and start this presentation. So he felt it would be really useful, not just to him, but the rest of y'all, if you did a YouTube video. So here I am doing a YouTube video about it. I actually asked him, like, haven't others done YouTube videos about it? And he's like, yes, but like you have a real straightforward style. Plus, you know what you're talking about, and you can give the real advice from being in the field. So that's true. Let's get started. Top 5 KPIs. Okay, so first off, we're talking mostly Google ads and Facebook ads because that's what he was focused on for his job. But I kind of wanted to keep it overarching. So this video in particular is for generally any big advertising platform. Right now, the big ones are like the social media platforms plus Google ads. Those are like the big ones. So like Facebook, LinkedIn, arguably YouTube, and then Twitter/X is kind of going down. TikTok's also not that good, but like those big social media ones. So the first KPI, as you can already see, is click-through rate. And this really helps us determine what ad is really working. And like, of the amount of people who see that ad, how many are actually like, ooh, this is a good ad. This is a good thing. It's intrigued me, and I'm clicking through to it. So your ad can be a static photo plus text ad. For Google ads, it's usually just text because it just shows in search results. For Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, they have video components to them if you choose the video option. And so because of that, this metric here is just all encompassing no matter what the platform is. In another video, maybe I'll dive deep into just Google ads, but for the purposes of this type of video, click-through rate is really important because how else are you going to tell if this ad is performing better than the other when you're doing a bunch of split tests? For the losing ad, that's the one you want to cut and get rid of, but make sure you hit statistical significance first. There's a lot of free statistical significance calculators out there. You basically plug in the amount of traffic each got and then the amount of conversions, and then it'll tell you if it's statistically significant enough to declare a winner when you're testing different ads against each other. So you'll learn a lot of this in time, but as I told June, like, make sure you are just going for it and trying your best to just hone in on these top 5 metrics, because in these ad platforms, as he was explaining to me, there's just so many possible metrics you can choose from and customize your interface for that it's so overwhelming for a beginner or a stakeholder. So, okay, we have click-through rate. What are the other 4 metrics? The next one is the number of clicks. This one's actually really important because are you even getting enough traffic to declare something a winner? It definitely ties into the last one, but also, especially for something like Google ads, this is where the nuances come into play as you get more advanced. If you got an amazing keyword, like let's say you found a really good keyword you're bidding on, and the click-through rate is amazing, maybe like 50% of people are clicking your ad for that keyword that see it, and they get onto the site, which is monstrously high. And I mean, it all sounds really good, right? But if that keyword doesn't get a lot of searches per month, maybe only gets 10 searches a month, then you're kind of capped at how much traffic you can send. And that's really not going to amount to many sales, because you only get like maybe five visitors a month. So on face value, if you just look at click-through rate, it looks good, but you have to start to add in these other metrics into it. Maybe another keyword has a much lower click-through rate, but it gets searched 10,000 times a month. Well, then who cares if the click-through rate's a bit lower? You're just driving so much more traffic to your landing page or your website. So number of clicks, definitely very important. And it's a great measure of performance on the ad side. But ads are not the only thing. What about your landing page? This is especially important for business-to-business companies, because they're trying to get as many leads as possible. Let's think like an insurance company. But chances are you're probably B2C. So even for B2C, that's really important. Let's say you're a t-shirt e-commerce site and you're selling t-shirts. You got to make sure that landing page converts. And sure, maybe the product sells itself, but any sizable company does what's called conversion rate optimization, which means they're constantly testing different words on their landing page, different designs, so that when the same amount of people hit that landing page, a higher percentage of them convert. So, that's one reason that you should be checking on conversion rates often. But another big reason, especially when you're more a beginner and you're working for a smaller business, is not like, let's put aside like optimizing the landing pages, just straight up, like, is your page even converting to begin with? If this is a brand new page, you don't even know if it's converting, and it's not converting, then you need to fix that issue, because you could have something with a high click-through rate, the perfect ad, lots of clicks, lots of traffic, all the things I just discussed. But if you're sending it to a black hole where no one's going to buy because it's off-putting, or something's wrong with the page, or it's broken, or it loads really slow, there's various factors that usually like a conversion rate specialist will kind of go through on a list. Well, then that's an issue. And no, you don't need to become a specialist or hire a conversion rate specialist. At my agency I first worked at, we kind of were a jack of all trades. So we learned about conversion rate as well. We weren't like experts, but we got good enough that we could start to kind of work and figure out and go through the list of what could be wrong. So just something to check, if you got to optimize this as well. If it's really bad, or it's 0%, or the conversion rate's really, really poor, like, I don't know, 0.01% converting, then that's a big issue. You need to fix that whole, or the other stuff doesn't matter. And if you're like, I'm confused, I'm overwhelmed, what does conversion even mean? A conversion is any type of key notable interaction that you want to happen on the site. Most of the time it has to do directly with making money, because that's really, like, having worked with hundreds of businesses, that's what they mostly care about at the end of the day. There are some exceptions. Some care about helping others, some nonprofits care about other things, but for the most part, it's some type of key interaction. Whether for a nonprofit, it may be someone donating. For a B2C business that's selling some merchandise, that conversion is going to be when they either add something to the cart or they buy that item. And ideally anything as close to the actual purchase as possible on the same page. Boom, that's your conversion. For B2B industries where the sales cycle is really long and the product you're selling is really expensive and they need to like talk it through for a long time, then your conversion rate from the digital, your big first conversion, is just like a lead, which means they fill out a form of some sort, enter their email, and then boom, they convert. So that's what conversion rate means. And it's basically a percentage. So it's like telling you what percentage of traffic that hits the page actually converts. Okay, I think you get the point. I can ramble on about this, but I think you get it. So the next big metric that you should be concerned about is cost per acquisition. otherwise known as CPA. There's various different names for this, depending on what that conversion is. Some call it cost per conversion. Some call it cost per purchase or cost per lead. It all just depends on your industry and whatnot. But essentially, the cost part of this formula is how much you spent in total on ad spend, and then you divide that by the amount of conversions you got. So let's say you have a B2C e-commerce company and you're selling t-shirts and you spent $1,000 on Facebook ads that month. The month is done, and then you got, let's say, 1,000 t-shirt purchases from different people. So you basically would put 1,000 divided by 1,000, and your cost per acquisition would be $1. So you basically paid $1 per t-shirt purchase. And let's say, and that's basically it. You could go deeper and then go into the financials of it, but that's actually more so reserved for the operations people, maybe the CPA, maybe the CEO, maybe all those people who are kind of calculating the profit margins, the gross margins, how much it costs for them to manufacture and ship that shirt, how much they're selling the shirt for. So they'll put that all into the equation. Let's say that they sold the shirt for $20. Well, then, it cost them $1 to acquire that customer, and then they made $19 gross margin. Obviously, you need to add in all these other things, but you typically, as an analytics person or ads manager, don't even need to go that deep. You just need to hand them the cost per acquisition, and they'll already know. They'll moan or groan or be very delighted about how those things are going. But this is obviously one of the biggest metrics because, like I said, at the end of the day, what they really care about is, are they making money? Another way of putting that is ROI, return on investment. It's all about, are we making more money or are we losing money in this investment? And obviously, that example I just gave, I exaggerated the numbers just to prove a point and illustrate it. In the real world of business, you're not going to have such big margins. In fact, it may be very slim margins and a very competitive industry, which is why it can be kind of difficult, sometimes even stressful, to be an ads manager or whatnot, because you're trying to get the right ad to work and you're constantly testing. But generally speaking, I would say, it's in the middle. It's not too stressful, but it's not too easy either. So that's essentially another metric that you should be reporting on and keeping an eye on. Okay, the fourth one is CPA by ad group. So this was important to throw in there because you also want to see and identify and create some insights on which ad group is performing better. Now, this is definitely more of like a Facebook ads and I would say a lot of similar platforms, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads, they kind of copy Facebook ads campaign structure. But essentially you have a campaign which houses like the big overall objective. Maybe it's to get engagement on your post. Usually it's something more like, let's get purchases, let's get clicks, let's get traffic, let's get video views, whatever that you define the campaign's objective at the start of building that campaign. And then within a campaign, you have ad groups, ad sets. I'm not going to go deep onto this because there's so many video tutorials online on YouTube about this, but your ad group usually is targeting, on Facebook, it's targeting certain audiences, target audience groups. And that's something you can define. You can say something like, I want to target people 15 to 35 age, and then living in Ohio, male only. And then you can even layer on additional interests and topics and hobbies and Facebook pages they follow, which, by the way, increases the cost. That's how Facebook gets you, but it helps you get more granular with the targeting if you want to. And that's basically what different ad groups you have, assuming you set up the campaign correctly. If you just jump into an account and it's all set up messed up, well, that's another issue that you have to untangle and get it organized and clean so you can have peace of mind and a clear mind to do good strategy. So I recommend cleaning up the organization if it's a mess. But assuming you've organized it and set it up correctly, those are the ad groups, and that's what ad groups are. And you want to kind of see, okay, which ad groups are kind of performing better than others. So let's say maybe you're targeting Ohio in one group and I don't even know if Massachusetts is a state. That's a bit embarrassing, but let's say Florida, Ohio versus Florida. And you're looking at these two ad groups, and then you see, oh, Florida is performing way better. And then you can start to examine why that is. Oh, it's because we're selling, let's say, for example, you're selling socks and t-shirts that have a logo that's kind of like a Southern logo, maybe crocodiles or something. And that resonates more with somewhere where the climate actually has alligators and crocodiles, Florida. And then that's something you could bring to your boss, and you could say, hey, this is why I think this is the ad group that's performing better. This is why. And then you can finish with a recommendation. That's why I recommend devoting more of our budget to the Florida ad group and less to the Ohio group. So that's just an example I pulled out of my brain, but that's an example of the power of ad groups. Now, I wrote CPA here as the metric you can measure these ad groups by. I think it's a great one if you have everything hooked up, and you have tracking hooked up to be able to measure the amount of conversions and then calculate the cost per acquisition. But if you have a better or more critical metric, which sometimes your leadership team or the CEO or whoever is leading the charge on this marketing, if they have another metric that they care about, which sometimes is the case, then replace CPA with another thing and then just measure the ad groups by that metric. Okay, I think you get the point. I'm trying not to ramble as much, so I'm going to kind of cut it here, but I do want to summarize because there's some really important parts that you want to bring this all together. One, storytelling is really important and a valuable skill for you to learn to be able to craft a message and deliver it to leadership who are often usually not as technically savvy as you are. So storytelling, that's probably another video that I would have to make. I could maybe do a video on how to storytell and present digital marketing data. But also, there's a lot of other, gurus and experts on storytelling and videos out there too, if you want to just watch those. Another thing is yes, there are probably over 100 metrics you can choose in the ad interface to examine. But at the end of the day, to help you avoid overwhelm and simplify, it usually comes down to traffic, conversion rate, and conversions. I mean, that's what matters. How much traffic are you bringing in? What conversion rate, conversions. And obviously, there's a lot of room to add in secondary metrics to splice and dice. Instead of conversion rate, you can look at click-through rate, and then you can look at landing page rate, conversion rate, and then you can look at which ad group is converting better or getting better click-through rate. There's ways of splicing and dicing, but since you want something to simplify your overwhelm, start there, because that's ultimately at a high level what's always going to matter for any type of digital marketing campaign. Even 10 years from now, that's probably going to be the big things that matter. And last but not least, there's a lot of metrics, but this is your starting point. Start with these, and then once you get more comfortable and advanced, then you can start to drill into more metrics. But more metrics isn't always better. There will never be a point where you're going to throw 50 metrics onto the page and expect it not to overwhelm your boss or whoever you're reporting to in that presentation. More is not always better in this case. Less is more. So it's not always about stuffing it with more metrics, but finding the right metrics to tell an accurate story and to draw some insights and recommendations. Please like and subscribe. Join my free email newsletter, which is down below, if you want a free coaching call or some exclusive tips on getting a job. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.